They found the body of that 31-year-old downstream. Search and rescue crews found him around 1 o'clock today. Will allow you to smoke on Clinton Avenue in the River Market area. But where you can't smoke during Riverfest are inside these gates. We noticed that the water levels were actually underneath this seat. And now just at 6 o'clock, just in that 2-hour time frame, you can see at least 2 inches of water on top of this bench alone. We're just a couple hundred yards away of where that tree fell and killed that 18-year-old woman. A tree much like this one right here, where the tornado actually ripped off the entire brick wall on one side. But just in the past few minutes, family came by to place this here in memory of the 2 that were killed here because of the fire. We begin tonight with weather. Rain and storms will become likely tonight, especially across western Arkansas. We can also see some very strong wind. I'm Jordan Bontke alongside, what's your name again?
My name is Mr. Yearwood.
I think it's Garth Brooks.
Yes.
But coming up, we'll have an interview with this guy right here. Here's the dash cam video that we obtained just a few hours ago. It shows Alyssa Harrison slipping out of her handcuffs and stealing a police car while an officer was helping with an incident on the river bridge.
Any type of...
The woman in the backseat of this Jacksonville police car is 25-year-old Alyssa Brooke Harrison. She was initially arrested early Monday morning after being pulled over for expired registration tags, then lying to police about who she was. After being processed in with Jacksonville police, it appears Harrison was being driven to a jail in Little Rock. During the trip, Harrison managed to slip out of her handcuffs and unbuckle her seatbelt, leaving her free to move about the back seat. As they approached the I-30 River Bridge, the officer stopped to assist with an incident. And while the officer was waiting for other agencies to respond, Harrison can be seen trying to get out of the car. The officer eventually notices she was able to slip out of her cuffs.
I think she might have uncuffed herself.
Oh, did I? Or do you have someone that's dying?
Oh, yeah, she slipped out of her cuff now.
According to the dash cam, the car was parked on the river bridge for less than 30 minutes before Harrison can be seen climbing into the driver's seat and taking off. She was arrested about 10 minutes later at this intersection in Kamek Village.
You should focus on your offense. You need to improve that from yesterday's game, okay?
There isn't a football program anywhere in Arkansas quite like the Leopards. With only 14 on the varsity squad, every player is either deaf or hard of hearing. Henry James plays 3 different positions on both sides of the ball.
But the deaf football, you have to get a relationship and know the person themselves. You had to learn to get that trust.
Everything runs on trust for this team. The Leopards execute their fast-paced offense with a chain reaction of sign language. In fact, it was a deaf school that invented the huddle in the late 1890s to prevent the other team from stealing their signs. Coach Rick Porter says that they use their trust and communication to their advantage,
Work hard.
something hearing schools can envy.
10% X's and O's and 90% psychology. And the goal of what we do is develop young men, and a byproduct is winning football games. So,
You see, last season the Leopards went 0-7, losing every single game. Before their game against the Iowa School for the Deaf this season, senior Marlon Thurlkill sent a message. When you come to our home, we're not going to let you beat us, he says. That message was received loud and clear. Marlon had 3 touchdowns and rushed for 129 yards. On defense, he had 5 tackles, a QB sack, and a safety. And Henry scored a pair of touchdowns and had 5 tackles on the day.
The feeling feels so great. I feel excited, motivated, and so happy for my son.
The Leopards ended up shutting out the Iowa School for the Deaf 66-0. This past Thursday, they beat the Arkansas Christian Academy, a hearing school, 46-30. So far, the Leopards are 4-1 this season. They may not be able to hear the sounds of victory, but they sure can feel it. On the 5th anniversary of the deadly flooding at the Albert Pike campgrounds, it's quiet. Since 20 lives were taken between the night of June 10th and 11th in 2010, overnight camping still isn't permitted. Some bathrooms and trails are boarded up and overgrown, and recently storm damage has prevented day use of the park. But if you drive a little deeper into the Ouachita National Forest, Terry Roeder is at a camping site she says that she comes to every single year around this time.
I saw my friend's car and truck, their camper literally floating and spinning and lodging against the trees.
Roeder says that it was easier for her to know to get to safety from the floodwaters because she was in a tent. Her mother, brother, and sister-in-law were at a different site. They drowned when up to 30 feet of water tore into their camper.
I know that my mother went in her favorite place.
Despite losing 3 family members, Roeder hopes to one day again camp overnight at Albert Pike.
And even with the flood, there were so many more memories of positive things that we enjoyed at Albert Pike that we had to keep that tradition alive.
See you on the other side to show you what it looks like at the bottom.
Before zipline instructor Tony Smith can harness up and latch on a wire that suspends him over 100 feet from the bottom of a valley, he checks everything.
All of our cables are grounded because lightning strikes are a real issue.
Smith and his parents operate the zip lines at Ouachita Bend. For the past 4 years, they've shown those seeking adventure a new point of view in Malvern. Once they decided they had the land to operate zip lines, they brought in engineers and surveyors to conduct a topography review of where the zip line lanes would run. They ran cables from trees or posts approved by a local arborist, then sought certification from the Association for Challenge Course Technology.
It's very thorough. They spend all day. They check every bolt. They look at the cable. They hand over hand each cable, look for little broken fibers.
The zipline places that we spoke with say inspections from the ACCT are the most thorough. They're a nonprofit that sets the standard for most challenge courses internationally, checking installation, operation, and educating instructors on risk management. The inspection is required every year.
Have you ever had an accident?
No.
In your 4 years? Knock on wood.
Here in Arkansas, the Labor Department inspects zip lines every 6 months, and it's up to the owner of the zip line to contact the Labor Department and get their zip line course inspected.
Never had an accident on a zip line at all. Never had a failure on a zip line.
Rowdy Prince is the owner of Rowdy Adventures in Okolona, just south of Texarkana. He says he sees 10,000 guests every year. Each one who's looking to zip line goes through a mini tutorial course to get a feel for it. Yeah. And for the past 5 seasons, he's been in compliance with all of the proper safety regulations until this year.
But the Labor Department issued you a fine. Was it earlier this summer?
That's correct. It was actually just here about a month and a half ago on failing to notify them that we were going to open this year.
Prince says heavy flooding delayed the start of his season 3 different times. By not telling the Labor Department, he was fined $1,000.
I was going to dispute it on there, but if you read it, it actually said that, failure to notify, and we failed to notify, so I went ahead and just paid it and went on. If you're open for 6 months, it seems to me kind of a little bit useless to have an inspection on something that's closed. So.
After a thorough inch-by-inch inspection for all zip lines in Arkansas, many instructors say safety and equipment can only do so much. The rider has to be in good enough physical shape. At the zip lines at Ouachita Bend, the weight limit is 265 pounds. The day that we went, one person wasn't allowed to zip due to their weight.
I tell people when they call in, they said, well, we've never ziplined before. And I said, the only thing we will not do for you is walk and breathe. We do everything else. We're not going to do that.
The person really needs to be halfway fit. They need to have some physical agility, be able to follow instructions.
Trusting your body weight to a harness and wire may make some uneasy, but before you leave that platform to take in 30 seconds of being suspended over hundreds of feet, know that months, even years, of preparation and inspection went into these zip lines so that you know you can trust them.
On this one, we start letting guests go backwards if they want to, so you just fall off like a trout ball.